You know that feeling when you're in a conversation and the person you're talking to doesn't understand a point you're trying to make? Donald Trump's so funny. Oh, so you support Donald Trump? No, I just think it's funny. I don't know anything about politics. What the fuck do you mean you support Donald Trump? No, I don't know anything about politics. It's just... Never mind. Today I'm going to be talking about the power of communication, how improving your communication will increase your ability to be understood, and how being misunderstood not only creates frustration, but also inhibits progress. Well, I lost the sun, but humans are social beings, and much of what we want require our ability to communicate. Your coffee order, your girlfriend, your job, your family, your whole career path depends on your ability to communicate, because inevitably we have to talk to each other, we have to interact, and that's part of what makes life good. But poor interaction and poor communication skills is what leads to a lot of frustration and a lot of struggles within that. So, how do we improve our ability to communicate and to be understood better? 1. Reading. Books increase your ability to understand vocabulary, concepts, and new ideas. The reason being is that when you're reading something you don't fully understand, it requires you to understand it to then continue reading the book. Or effectively, reading is learning. It's the basic idea. Now, the reason that reading is more effective than having conversations, for example, is most of our conversations are with our friends, and typically they're about subjects we already know or about current events. Now, this isn't always true. Naturally, you can have friends that are curious about various topics, but with a book, you can choose what topic you want to learn about, and within that, there will be things that naturally are new to you. That's the nature of learning, that's the nature of books. How does this help communication? Well, with communication, it's all about understanding concepts. Concepts come from people because it's ideas, and ideas are how we communicate. So, how do you choose a good book? Well, ideally, you choose something that's outside of what you usually learn about, listen to, or know. It's a new knowledge base, it's a new world, you're going to be exposed to much more novelty and newer ideas that you're not already familiar with. And this is the point. We're trying to increase exposure to then optimize the rate of learning for new ways to communicate, new words, new concepts, new ideas. You're just expanding your ability for your brain to comprehend things, to understand things. If you read a book about the same subject that you've heard 20 podcast episodes of, you're probably just going to be reiterating the same information. Yes, it will help because it's still the written word, but it's not as effective as a novel stimuli. 2. Journaling. Now, the base premise for why journaling is useful is because your brain doesn't naturally think in organized structures or sentences. We have ideas, emotions, and thoughts, and journaling forces you to put it into something that is comprehensible and that makes sense. This is why talking to a friend or journaling about something that's stressing you out or that's taking up headspace can make it make more sense. It can become easier to understand by putting it into words. So, why is journaling useful for being understood and communication? Well, the clearer you can be on what's going on in your mind and what you're thinking, the clearer you can communicate that to somebody else. It's like a script. If you're in a play or in a TV show and you have to memorize a script, you have to memorize your lines, the more you practice, the more clear you are about what those lines are, the better the delivery will be. Otherwise, you get onto set, you don't know what you're saying, and it comes out as gibberish. It's the same for how I make these videos. I can't make these videos by just coming up with everything on the spot. I have to write about them and script them so that I'm so familiar with the idea itself that when I'm talking to the camera, it makes sense. You see, the goal with communication is that you want to be understood as best as you can, so you waste as little energy on trying to explain yourself. Because not only does being misunderstood lead to you not getting what you want in life, but it also results in people not understanding what they can even help you with. If you want help, you need to be able to communicate. And that's my case with journaling. 3. The third way to improve your communication is to listen more than you speak. You see, understanding communication isn't just about how you communicate yourself, it's also how other people interpret you. By listening to other people, we can gain an understanding of how they see the world, what their perspective is, and how they're going to receive that information. You see, we all receive information differently. We all have a filter over the way that we see and understand the world based on our belief systems and how we've grown up and a multitude of other factors. The reason this is important for understanding communication is different people receive information in different ways. Chances are you don't communicate with your parents the same way that you communicate with your friends or your partner. Like making a movie, it's important to know your audience because you want to understand how they're going to receive that information and the message of what you're putting into that film. It's the same with how you talk to people. Imagine you're a Formula One driver and you have a racetrack that you've just been introduced to. It's going to take you a lot of laps and time to understand how that track works, the best way to drive it, and how your car interacts with that track. If you never take time to understand the track, the corners, and the speeds you need to take, you'll never understand the course, you'll never get familiar with it, and it'll be frustrating, confusing, and awkward. This is the same with communicating with people. You probably communicate really well with a friend you've known for years because you understand them and they understand you. And it's that understanding that not only brings us closer, but it also makes us better at knowing what the other person wants and becoming in tune with what they need. This works the same on the inverse. If you learn how other people communicate and you become a better communicator yourself, you will have much smoother and much less awkward conversations with the people around you. And this will complement every part of your life, like I said earlier, from your career to your girlfriend, to your family, your friends, pretty much anything that requires people. So how does being misunderstood not only frustrate you, but also inhibit your progress? Imagine there's a CEO running a company, and none of his employees can understand him. There's constant miscommunications, none of the tasks are done properly because each employee has to work out how to do it based on their own interpretation because of the pure communication of the CEO. Chances are the company's going to perform very badly and probably fail altogether. Now imagine how frustrated that CEO would be, constantly being misunderstood and not being able to run his company properly. Now imagine that company represents your life. The CEO represents you, and the employees represent your friends, family, and colleagues. Think about how these people contribute to your life. Arguments you've had with friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, things like that. Inevitably, these people are going to have an impact in your life, whether it's good or bad, and the way that you communicate will actually determine how much good and how much bad that's going to be. If you want to be understood, if you want to have better relationships and make better progress socially, it's important to have this communication. It'll avoid arguments, it'll avoid frustration, and people will actually know how to help you and how to be a positive contributor to your life, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help the people around us instead of inhibit them. And this is why communication falls on you as the individual to help yourself to improve that and be clearer.